Hello, my name is Kevin, and this is my fifth journal entry. Um, so I was thinking about this a lot, and um, I've been working hard finding professionals to help me deal with my autism. Uh, I have been recently diagnosed with autism um, and ADHD and PTSD, and it is really hurting me. I know that uh, there's probably a lot of people out there that understand this, but it's once you get a diagnosis like autism, it kind of forces you to look back in your life and start reevaluating everything that you've ever been through, and that's been kind of what I've been doing since January. Um, so yeah, I'm seeing professionals now. I'm seeing specialists and whatnot, and uh, but I feel that communicating with the outside world is still extremely important, and that's what I want this um, journal, YouTube journaling, to um, be the role of communicating with the outside world. I have such horrible communication problems right now. It's really bad. um, uh, it's just been a lot of isolation for a really long time. I had a lot of my friends ghost me after I had my first injury and lost my parents. So it's been a lonely, bumpy road for a while now. But so yeah, I know that I have all this hurt and frustration and fear that I'm going through, and I'm really wrestling with it. I'm going through the channels. This journey is just starting for me, and I'm very hopeful with the people that I'm seeing that it's going to go in a direction that I am going to be happy with. I don't think there's been a point in my life where I've ever wanted change as badly as I do now, because I don't think there's ever been a point in my life where change has ever been needed as much as it is now. So, you know how they say, like, you won't ever change until you're actually ready to. Yeah, like, I'm ready to. I've been ready for a while. So I really feel that having this outlet to help me communicate, like, even if there's nobody listening, like, I don't know who's listening. I mean, I think I had like one guy write like a four word comment on one of my other videos, and that was like it. And I don't know who the person is, but I still feel that this is like a really important step in my development and in developing communication skills. And I'm going to stumble all over my words for a really long time, but um, I still got to do it. Um, so since my autism diagnosis is affecting me in this extremely powerful way right now, and that I know that there's other people who can connect with me with late in life diagnoses. I thought that I would just take this time to talk about some of the autistic characteristics and traits that I've had over the years and didn't know. Kind of maybe what trouble they've gotten me into, and um, whether or not anything positive has come from them. Um, I'm already becoming more consciously aware of my situation, and I just feel like talking about it makes me even more consciously aware. And whatever you need to do to open your mind up to wake yourself up, I think that you should do, as long as it's healthy too, right? So this I also feel will hopefully help other people who might be on this journey too, feel less alone. Um, maybe seeing how hard it is for me in the beginning stages um, will help you guys realize that there is a starting point. The starting point isn't pretty. It's not pretty. So anyhow, here are 5 autistic traits that I did not know that I had. Um, Number 1, not understanding social rules, like, or cues, or any other type of normal social interaction. It just never made sense to me. Um, like, like, this is above and beyond normal conversations. Like, obviously conversations were really hard for me because You interject. I even have this in here. It's the next one. It's to interject words that you don't know aren't appropriate to a conversation. But this goes above and beyond, meaning like clothing. Like I sometimes wear sweatpants to important places that you wouldn't normally wear sweatpants to, just because I find sweatpants very comfortable, or I would refuse to dress up when I would need to dress up, or not wear the appropriate layering when the weather called for it. It just certain social rules like behavior in public and like not picking your ears or nose or whatever. It's very hard for me to control and so hard for me to admit. But that is definitely one of the things that society demands of you, and society is a crazy animal, and it does demand you behave and act and wear and dress and socialize a certain way. And obviously, you can get into an argument about conforming and whatnot, but I mean that's another topic. I don't like conforming. I don't want to conform. I think that's also part of the autism in me, is never wanted to be that, and it's sad because it is a major part of life that I've missed. Um, I don't necessarily know if I have anything good to spin that with, other than just the understanding and knowing that there's probably going to be a middle ground I'm going to have to eventually come to at some point in time, where I stay true to myself and still, um, uh, do what society expects of me to do. Like, I don't want to be a robot. I don't want to be completely absorbed by society like many people are, and they can't think for themselves. I don't want to be that person, but I will still have to make um, some, what's the word? Not amends, not stipulations, not, um, shit, concessions. I will still have to make some concessions. Um, so that is that. Number two, using words that don't fit the tone of the conversation. This is a big one for me because I always find myself using words that are in conversations that aren't necessarily wrong. Their definitions would fit in that sentence, but they're often like inappropriately toned, or there's way too cerebral, like using cerebral instead of using intellectual. um, but this also includes cussing when it's not appropriate. I've also been a very big cusser, and I dropped f bombs left and right when it was just not appropriate to drop f bombs. It's Asperger's, and it's a big part of my autism and a big part of people's autism. Um, I have such a hard time saying it without saying Asperger's. I'm sorry, but even that, it's like my autistic brain wanting to interject that Asperger's instead of Asperger's. Um, so yeah, it puts me in positions to be teased and picked on because, missing those social cues again. You're in a situation where you're just having a relaxed conversation with friends, and you're dropping all these like cerebral words and a couple f bombs here and there. People are gonna look at you like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? And it has made it very difficult to make friends um, and connect with people. My autistic brain is just like not capable of conversing with normal conversation. Um, but it has given me the opportunity to really evaluate the things that I say, and that's going to be a big part of my job in the future, is to make sure that I understand the tone of the conversation that I am in and what is and isn't appropriate to say. Um, Heightened senses. This is number three. And this is also something which is pretty common for people with autism, to not be able to filter out all the information that's constantly bombarding us from all over the place. And that's like everything. Everything our senses can take in is information, and if you don't know how to just accept it and tune it out, or shut it out or deal with it, then it can be overwhelming. We're surrounded by this all the time. And I think that noise is probably the biggest for me. Um, and I don't know whether that was overdeveloped when I was a child, whether I was autistic with it as a child, or whether it was overdeveloped because of the type of chaotic life I had at home. My parents were alcoholics and they were always fighting, and there would often be times my mom would wander into my bedroom in the middle of the night and just say really rude things to me while I was trying to sleep. And I would have to be audibly aware of the sound of my dad's car driving up in the driveway, and at nighttime, the sound of him getting out of the car, how his keys jangled in the doorknob, and all of that would be audible cues to how the rest of the night was going to go. The footsteps walking back and forth through my house, and maybe this experience was on top of the autism, but I don't know if I don't know how those two play hand in hand, but I feel like they're somehow connected. But regardless, uh, uh, auditory sensation, sound is just extremely powerful to me. Like I've had this noisy upstairs neighbor that I live underneath, and I have just been out of my mind trying to cope with it. Um, so yeah, sound is very bad for me. But I do visually get distracted very easily. I don't know whether this is a fight or flight reaction, or whether that fight or flight reaction is due to the autism. It just feels like it's a big package for me. Um, so there's a lot going on there, and I don't know. Like I said, I'm going to be seeing professionals, so hopefully we can have a chat about this and unwrap it. But I get visually distracted very easily by people, other sites, colors, flashing lights, um, things that just are visually interesting, often grab my attention. I do have a powerful olfactory sense. My ability to smell is very powerful, and can be overwhelming too. But I also found that some smells actually serve to really relax me, probably more than they do other people. And these are tastes too. And some of these kind of translate between the two of them, like peppermint. Like peppermint is pretty amazing for me. I can inhale peppermint and go right to sleep, or eucalyptus and go right to sleep. But I also love rosemary. I love the smell of Santos wood burning. I love the smell of myrrh. Um, uh, God, I'm trying to think of some other ones. Like wood, sawdust. I love the smell of sawdust. I love the smell of um, sandalwood, cedar. Um, so yeah, smells are really, really powerful for me. Like when I go out walking around my neighborhood and I pass by a rosemary bush, I'll often grab the rosemary leaves and I'll rub them on my fingers, and that way I can smell my hand while I'm walking, and it just keeps me nice and calm and relaxed. It's great. Um, Nine, sorry, this is four. I have difficulty talking to authority figures, and this is we're getting to like heavier stuff here, because this is one of my biggest issues that I'm still dealing with now. Like it wouldn't matter whether it's a doctor or a teacher or you know um, police officer or my parents. I would often find myself either retreating into submission, or tensing up in the situation and tensing up in the situation, uh, or I would just uh, um, you know be very angst and quick to like anger and like snap at people, right? And I'm happy that I didn't do that with a police officer, but I have done that with my parents. I've gone the spectrum of like completely shutting down to snapping at them and dropping those f bombs that were just like totally inappropriate. And like I said, my home life was extremely chaotic, so it was difficult to find that appropriate middle ground in communicating with one another. Um, I wrote this idea. I don't know how appropriate it is, or how realistic, or I don't know the word insightful it is, but I wrote that I think that authority figures represent this very honed consciousness, honed conscious mind, and awareness, and being autistic with ADHD. It's just it's a powerful repulsive um, energy, right? It almost feels oppressive sometimes. I don't understand it. And when people, especially me with ADHD, when we're around things that are very powerful that we don't understand, we want to get away from it. We want to hide. We want to retreat, or we want to shut down. Um, which brings me to number 5: shutdowns and meltdowns. And this is the huge top of the list for me: shutdowns and meltdowns, because I've been doing them ever since I was a child, and they are by far my worst autistic trait. If anybody sees these videos that knows me, they will know absolutely that I can like fly off the handle in a moment, or just completely shut down and be like almost um, just not narcoleptic. What's the word? Damn it. um, uh, shit, I can't think of it, but just like completely passive, and just like almost to the point of just like not being there, like very dissociatively passive, um, and distant and quiet, and often seen as very rude and unsociable, right? But like I'll want to be around people, and I'll be like totally shut down because maybe the group is overwhelming me, and I'll be like, oh fuck, what do I do? I'm just gonna shut down and look at my phone, or draw in my sketchbook, or just say simple words and not really engage. Um, yeah, I can become overwhelmed by everything from consistent loud noise to emotions I don't understand in myself and other people, or um, I don't, if they're in me, I don't have a healthy way to release them, so they'll either come out with a string of epitaphs, or me just shutting down completely and wanting to hide in my room. Um, but I think in just knowing all of this gives me the power to control it, and that's something that I'm just learning how to do now. Um, I don't really have the vocabulary to pick the correct words. I don't really have the social dynamic in my life to um, challenge myself and test these ideas out on. I belong to an AHA group now. That's ACA group. That's Adult Children of Alcoholics. So I go there once a week. I go to an AA meeting once a week, although I'm not an alcoholic. I do have addictions. I don't know if I've mentioned it in other videos, but I am addicted to computer games. That was one of my addictions. I don't know whether that's a byproduct of the autism or just they fed each other somehow. But that's kind of why I go to the AA meetings, because otherwise I don't know where else to go. The AA meetings kind of like touch on the same subjects of what I feel when I'm just hardcore in need of playing a computer game, and computer games definitely feed the autism and the social dynamic sense, where there's certain ways that you're supposed to behave, even when playing a computer game, that I lose my shit when things don't go my way, and it's just bad for me anyhow. But I get to control them now because I have the power, and it's just going to take time to train myself to do that, I think. It'll give me the opportunity to make better choices in various emotional states. So, not knowing that these were aspects of my personality was obviously very confusing, and made emotional problems like depression and anxiety much worse. Made finding friends a lot, like, very hard. I had a very hard time making friends in my life. And sometimes when I did make friends, I would, insult them accidentally. I would fly off the handle with little provocation. And sometimes I would do that publicly. Uh, I would be emotionally drained around partners who, very rightfully needed compassion or connection or a normal, healthy social dynamic within a relationship, and I just couldn't provide. Um, Growing up in the 70s, autism was seen more as a defective parenting, and not as an issue with a child that needed help. So um, parents just ignored it. They just said their kids are weird. They put all the blame on the child, and that's definitely what I got from my mom. Um, there was a suicide attempt at one point in time because I was just so overwhelmed by all these emotions. And I was put in a mental facility. And my parents visited me one time then, and I begged them to take me out because just being there was unbelievably overwhelming for me. Because all the other kids there, I was 18 at the time, all the other kids there were going through a lot of emotional problems. And with autism, you're just absorbing all of that. And I'm just sitting there absorbing all these other emotions, not having a healthy place to really, you know, let it all out because I couldn't tell anybody that my mom and dad were doing what they were doing to me because there wasn't anything wrong with them. It was me. Um, I remember the one time my parents came in to see me, I begged them to take me out, and my mom literally started shouting that they have to find out what's wrong with me. And that may have the bar for the rest of my life. You know, burying whatever I thought was wrong with me, so that society didn't reject me the same way as my parents. That's going to be a fun one to bring up in psychology. Um, so yeah, growing up in the '70s, autism was seen by as a defective parenting and not an issue of the child that needed help. So I was never given attention to fix the problem. Instead, I got blamed for my family for being weird. I wound up hiding and shutting down more because of the way my family treated me, and that turned into isolating and playing video games, becoming addicted to video games, role-playing games, pornography, um, and that has pretty much traveled with me through my whole life up until very recently. About 10 years ago, I had a major injury to my left shoulder, and it was mostly structural damage, which was, technically fixable, uh, but it was taking a long time to work with Western medicine, and I sought help from a chiropractor, and he messed my neck up, messed my cervical spine up, my central nervous system up, and then I became very uh, uh, not crippled, but impacted by that neurological impingement that he caused in my upper cervical neck. I lost the ability to pursue my career goals. I just graduated college, and eventually it forced me into retirement. So about that time is when my friends started ghosting me, and I don't know if I can blame them really. I mean, nobody wants to be around that much pain and suffering, and nobody wants to be around things they don't understand. So it's like maybe I can understand why they did it, but it still doesn't change the fact that they were ignorant and weren't there for me and didn't want to understand, didn't want to help me. These are people who are nice people. It's just they want that very static, two-dimensional, societal, you know, life that you're taught as a young person. You have the ability to get, and you work really hard to have, and they don't want ripples in that pond. They want it to stay that way forever. But I still think that they're good people, and I wish them well. But yeah, after I had these injuries, and I had the back problems with the nerve impingement, and going through the years, I've been working through that and healing it. Had another injury to my abdomen last year, and I realized that like I don't have any room in my life to be isolated anymore. I can't do it, and that you know sort of spiraled into me finding out what's going on with my head, my emotions, and that's when I got the diagnosis for autism in January. And I swear to God, it is like my head took a 180 and it's just facing the other way now in life. And I'm realizing, I'm like, Jesus, what the hell have I done to myself? I have left a horrible trail of disaster in my wake, but but it has also given me a place to look at it with fresh, open eyes. I have the context, not context. I don't know what the word is, but the capacity to look at it in a way where I can take action. I can um, do my due diligence. I can start taking steps to try and fix how I respond to emotional situations and how I respond to the demands of society. And you know, uh, I don't know if anyone's heard of radical acceptance, but I feel that that is a part of a trilogy. I was just watching this YouTuber. His name is Mark Manson. You might know him from writing a very popular book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fudge. And he's got a YouTube channel, and I like watching his YouTube channel. And he was talking about the three rules that he lives his life by. And I think essentially they break down into uh, radical. Did I write them down? Hold on 1 second. Let me check. Yeah, I did. Radical responsibility. So even if it's not necessarily your fault, if it's happening in your environment, in your reality, you have to just be responsible for it. Um, you get into a car accident. It might not be your fault, but you still have to be responsible in that moment. Radical acceptance. That's pretty synonymous with, I've done some DBT work in the past, and radical acceptance is one of the things that they preach, but I wish they would preach all of them, because I think it's a part of a trilogy. You accept the things that are going on in your life, because otherwise you can't do the first one, right? Um, and then the last one, radical growth, is the one that made me feel like I should share my autistic journey. And eventually I want to share my physical journey too, but it's just a lot for me to compute right now. Compute, that's an autistic word that I shouldn't have used. um, so yeah, radical growth, and I'm going to quote him here. He said that every action and decision you make should be motivated to improve lives, both yours and others. I don't know how me telling my story can improve the lives of others, but I'm going to put some links down in the description area, and that will be to Mark Manson's a YouTube post about his 3 life rules. I think it's important to watch. And there's an Australian guy. I don't know his last name. His first name is Paul, and he has. Did I write it down? Did I write it down? I probably didn't. He has a website. I forgot the name of it, but it's like a Autism from the Inside. That's what it's called. And he's gone through an amazing journey too. And I really resonate with him and what he's doing now. So I'm gonna put a link to his YouTube channel down on the bottom below. Um, but that's kind of just it for now. I did wind up hiding the RPGs, video games, and porn. I've already got somebody that I'm going to be talking to about that. She seems really interested in helping me, so I'm excited. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to say that if you're struggling with autism, whether it's late diagnosed or whatever, just know that you're not alone. And like, trust me, I feel like so alone sometimes, but you aren't. You are not alone. I am absolutely going through that struggle too. I have discovered that I am much, much stronger than I thought I ever was. And I hope that you can too, because I think that's really important to know that, you've managed to get as far as you've gotten, not knowing that there was this significant roadblock in your life, right? So that takes strength. You just didn't muddle through like any normal person, right? You were carrying some weight, and you got where you are. So as soon as you take that weight off, you're going to be able to jump higher, run faster, farther than everybody else, or at the very least keep up like you never thought you could. So just hang in there, and we'll all make it to a much better place. I'm absolutely certain of it. Uh, Thank you for watching.